like people are done looking for places to stay. And I think we will seriously see like a tier in the hospitality market be completely obliterated and like wiped out. And I think what we're going to see is like the middle tier kind of disappear. And I think we're going to see super luxury and like very experiential, unique stays. And then I think we're going to still see our like budget friendly stays. Welcome to a super special episode of Branded and Booked. You guys, I am joined today by Gill Chan, who is honestly one of my all-time favorite people in this industry. And Gill and I totally bond over our former e-commerce backgrounds, but Gill owns Crafted Stays, and I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell you a little bit more. But I'm really excited about our conversation today. We're going to be talking a lot about AI and direct bookings and how those two work together and all of those different components. So, Gill, give us a little bit of who you are and Crafted Stays, and then let's dive in.
Yeah, I maybe before I go into that, I'm flattered because I also look up to you quite a bit, and I constantly I you'll see me like your posts and stuff. So like I think you make amazing content and putting yourself out there. So kudos to you before we kick off. But I wanted to make sure
Thanks,
that
Gill.
I said that while it's still fresh there.
You're the
For folks
best.
for folks that don't know me, but I also have a podcast as well too. And Steph was our first guest ever, and she put the bar so darn high that like 80 episodes in, I'm like, okay, how do we make sure that we keep it to the fact like we actually had her on and we just aired the first episode this year with Steph. So mad respects also to Steph. She's wonderful. She's wonderful.
Love it. Thank you.
But just to kind of introduce myself, I'm Gill Chan. I'm a property manager myself or host myself too. My wife and I, we have a couple properties out in Tennessee, and in Missouri, in a little place called the Great Smoky Mountains and Branson. And they're mainly vacation homes that we started off with, but also investments as well too. So we got into hosting pretty much at the early parts of the pandemic. And we're doing great. We met all our revenue targets, actually exceeded our revenue targets in the golden years. But we felt like all of our eggs were in this big basket called Airbnb. There's 95% of our little eggs were in the Airbnb basket at that first year there. And it was a really daunting place. And this is actually before, like, for our listeners here, in 2025, a lot has changed. And I think a lot of people are feeling the effects, and we can talk a little about this, but 2025, feeling the effects of what Airbnb has control over your business. We felt this in 2023 before all those changes started to happen. And mainly because as an investor, as a business owner, you want to make sure that like you have very sustainable revenues. And we felt that at that point, like if we were to get delisted from page one, page two to page 12, we aren't able to meet our revenue targets anymore. We're not able to cover our mortgage anymore. So that's what really drove us into direct bookings. And at the time, we either had what the PMS offered, which are really pretty basic websites if we wanted to go with direct bookings, or we would have to hire an agency. And if we hired an agency, we would have to spend anywhere from $6,000 to $12,000 to build a pretty templated website. And ironically, my day job, as Steph mentioned, I was in e-commerce. My W-2 was in tech. I was at my sixth startup. Three of them, half my whole career was in e-commerce. And my biggest partner was Shopify. And I realized that like, okay, if I wanted to start an e-commerce business, I wouldn't go hire a bunch of developers and have them build me a bespoke website. I would sign up for a Shopify account, add my products to it, and then by the middle of the afternoon, I'll have one of the highest converting websites out there. And I look back at our industry in hospitality, we had nothing like that. So I coded the first version, I shared it around with my mastermind peers, and they collectively convinced me to leave my W-2. And I listened to them. I took a huge plunge, went from earning a healthy six-figure salary to investing a healthy six-figure amount to grow the company. Hired the best engineers I've had a chance to work with over the last 15 years. Kudos to my team on building it. But for the last 2 years, we've been just building the highest converting website platform out there, and it's been amazing. I'm looking forward also to the things that's coming ahead. We just won Website Builder of the Year, so we lasted the whole year of 2025 and the end of the year, and they said that they want to appoint us the Website Builder of the Year. This is Travel and Hospitality Tech Outlook. So we're very honored to have that award. But it's been a grind, but we've helped a lot of hosts really convert more and more traffic into bookings. So that's a
Yeah, you
long-winded
have.
that's a long-winded introduction.
I love this, Gil. I love hearing your story. I've heard it before. Obviously, you've been on the podcast too, and I love hearing that you saw this problem and you were like, this could be better, and let's maybe not just put our entire business at the hands of a platform we have absolutely no control over because that's terrifying, honestly. And I have a similar experience, but with social media, where I had all of my eggs in the Instagram basket ripped out from underneath me. And that is why it's like so important that you guys are building this ecosystem. And it really does start with that direct booking site, which is what you all have created. So, Gil, why don't you explain kind of like the crafted stays ethos and like the product that you guys have for anyone who's listening to this who really doesn't understand A, what crafted stays is, but B, like the direct booking side of things. Just kind of give us an overview.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, like most PMSs, they'll give you a website. Like you can pretty much build a website, and most of them will give it free. But they're pretty basic websites. They'll have a hero image that you can upload your own hero image and maybe a tagline, and then they list out all your properties on there. And that's pretty much it. And then it's very bookable. Like if you had a family member that wanted to book it with you, you wanted to be able to collect payments and all that stuff, the PMS websites will do perfectly that. Like you don't need to invest into a direct booking website. You don't need to spend money on that stuff. But for folks that are really serious about really taking ownership of their own bookings and really growing that direct booking book business, that's where we really step in. So sometimes we have people starting off on the PMS websites, but then as they mature, they're spending time and energy on building out their email campaigns. They're gathering guest emails. They're working on their social media. They're starting to build that engine. That's when people start to look at us, and they're shopping with us or website agencies. And typically, if you wanted a good website before Crafter Stays, you would have to hire a developer to build it out for you. And they're typically building it on WordPress. Um, but I come from e-commerce, and like in e-commerce, we don't build e-commerce websites on WordPress. Some older companies do on WooCommerce, but it's not typical. And it's mainly because when you build an e-commerce store or a hospitality website or a direct booking website, when a developer does it, they're doing it specifically for you. They're bespoking it for you. So as they're learning, as everything is changing all around them, all of the different ways that LLMs and AI is changing the world, that developer needs to go back in your site and update your website. But for us, we basically built an entire platform for direct bookings, and we're constantly updating it. So essentially, what you're able to do is you're able to create an account, connect your PMS. We'll pull in all the property information, the listing descriptions, amenities, rates, availabilities, all that stuff. And then you can choose from a variety of different templates. We have one from Steph um, that we created together. But you can choose from a variety of different templates, and you're able to build a really good looking, beautiful, high converting website. And we constantly test. We constantly feel like, okay, can we change something on the mobile workflows? Can we make it more shareable? Can we really try to figure out how do we boost conversion as much as possible? And we're like every month we have like one or two different tests that we want to do, and we typically run it with larger property managers, people that have hundreds of properties on our platform. We'll run it with them, and if we find that the test has a material difference, then we'll change it for everybody that's either using the same template, or some cases even like if a PMS offered a new feature, we're able to roll it out across the board. So
Mm.
you go from this old world where people, you have to hire a developer and they're having to spend time and effort on your specific instance. On us, we get to work with some of the largest property managers out there. They have full-blown marketing teams built in-house, and they're like, "Hey, Gil, can we do this? I want to be able to build these blog pages." And we start to mature our platform, and now everybody, you can be an owner with just a couple of doors, and you still have the same tools there. So it's been amazing to see kind of how the platform has evolved since.
Yeah, it has evolved so much, Gil, since our first few conversations. And what I think is really cool about what you guys are doing is that you are taking into account number one, marketing, because that's one of the biggest things on the PMS sites. Obviously, I'm looking at that, but I'm like, there's no marketing capability. So yes, it is great if you are just like, I just want it to, for my family to be able to book. Okay, great. Like send them your PMS link. That's fine. But if you really want to have a direct booking strategy and rely less on the OTAs, not only do you need a website, you need the marketing strategy to get traffic to said website and to capture traffic while they are there. And that is something that you guys have definitely taken into account, as well as the SEO side of things, which I think is another piece that some templated websites that I've seen are not, they're not doing that. And it's like, it's great to be able to go and create a website and do it quickly, but on the flip side of that, it's like I'd rather have, quality and efficiency over just like quickness.
Yeah, and I don't think that necessarily comes at a compromise too, because in many ways, because we're adapting so quickly, we're able to make SEO changes across the board with everybody. So whereas like the kind of the WordPress like bespoke world, your agency had to come and go in there and make those changes. And we can talk a little bit about this about like how AI is like how you do appear in AI search and some of those things. Like that takes someone going into a website making changes for it. So like building it as a platform not only makes it easier, but actually more powerful in the long run.
Mm,
I may have mentioned this to you in like the past, but like we're backed by Google. So Google, we're actually built on a lot of Google infrastructure. And we have a pretty good connection with them. And where we ask them to take a look at our templates and actually give us feedback on are we structuring things correctly? Should we be doing anything better? And this is a long while ago when we first started the company in our first few templates, and they give us a lot of good feedback. I was almost embarrassed of like, oh, we should have done this, we should have done this. But they give us a lot of scrutiny on like, oh, if you want to appear in search, these are the types of things that you need to look out for. And we made many, many revisions and we continue to make many, many revisions as things continue to change. But just having kind of the backing of Google, the search engine is actually people are searching for, look at your stuff and scrutinize it. That's pretty helpful for us.
yeah, that is huge. That is huge. Okay, I want to talk quite a bit about AI today. So I want you to maybe the first question is like, how do you feel like AI has changed the direct booking side of things in this hospitality industry? And then we'll go from there. I'll let you answer that first.
Yeah, there's a lot of parts to it. I think like one thing is that Google and Airbnb used to be that entry point. Like if you're planning a trip, you might go on Airbnb, you might go on Google to kind of search for properties or search for locations and where to stay and all that stuff. Like right now we're planning a trip to Japan, and I'm thinking about all the different places to do and how do we plan our schedules and all that stuff. And ChatGPT ends up, I use Claude, but a lot of folks ChatGPT becomes that first thing that they do to really help them hone in on like where they want to go, what are the attractions, where they want to stay, and kind of like help them plan out some of those things. Well, ChatGPT is actually they're using search engines behind the scenes to get all that data out there. They're constantly scraping the websites. They're using Bing and Google to retrieve all those information. So you need to, if you want to be able to like show up in the search, you need to make sure that you're on those platforms to begin with there. So all in all, like to answer your question, as things change, how do you like how are guests like reacting to it now? I think people are not really just like looking for stays in isolation from everything else they're doing. They're trying to like figure out like everything almost all together now. So we as property managers want to make sure that we're on ChatGPT, but also how does that impact our website as well too and the guest experience that we have in there. So for instance, we just filed a patent, and we've been testing this out with some of our property managers where someone can go on your website and rather than searching for these dates, this location, this amount of guests, they're able to have a search bar that has a text box. And they're able to say, I want to go to the mountains with our two young kids and their grandparents. The grandparents are elderly, so we need something that's ADA accessible. And the kids love these. Like the kids love a movie theater. And it's able to go through your entire portfolio and figure out which property meets that criteria the most. And we start to prioritize it based on that. And then rather than showing the normal 500 character description, we change that. So we highlight the attractions nearby. We highlight that it's ADA accessible. So you, as someone that's shopping for a property, you know which one meets your criteria the best. So we just patented that. We're rolling it out this quarter with some of our larger property managers that has about 120 doors. I'm super excited about that. But that changes the way that people search for it. And that changes the way that like how you service your guests there. And what's even more exciting is that now, as a property manager or owner host, you have now data about why they're visiting your place. So if you know someone is coming in for their anniversary or someone's celebrating a birthday and you're a property manager that wants to make sure that they come back over and over again, you're able to service them so much better because now you know the intent. So this is kind of the area where I think over time, 2026 is going to be that kind of the first year we'll start to see this kind of evolution towards a smarter way to kind of service your guests. So it's really elevating hospitality. I don't think of it as like, oh, just pure LLMs and how do you get on the first rank, but like how does it actually weave into providing a better guest experience as well too. So these all comes together. Like if you think about direct bookings, the people that have the highest direct booking rates, that from what I've seen, are people that understand their guests the most and really deliver an experience that's they love and they would talk about. They're going to share it on social media. They'll share with their friends and family. And if you make that a memorable stay from them and you can capture that every single time, every year you're going to be stacking your direct booking rate.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, that's so true. I think so much of this space, and you're speaking to it from a tech perspective, but so much of this space is moving into experiences. Like people are done looking for places to stay. And I think we will seriously see like a tier in the hospitality market be completely obliterated and like wiped out. And I think what we're going to see is like the middle tier kind of disappear. And I think we're going to see super luxury and like very experiential, unique stays. And then I think we're going to still see our like budget friendly stays. But somewhere in the middle there, it's going to be interesting to see like how that shifts. And again, I think that speaks to what you're sharing right now is just the experience side of things that people are craving and looking for and trying to plan. I don't want to just go to Japan and stay there and find a place to stay. Like I'm thinking about what are we going to do? What do we want to be close to and all of those different components.
Yeah, because like if I'm thinking of like if I were to go to Japan like a few years back and we had young kids and a stroller, like it changes the way that we might even travel and where I want to stay on things. And now our kids are like they can walk, they can listen for the most part, kind of. Um, but like it changes like what we can and cannot do and the things that we want to be nearby. So I think that's a huge factor in there. And I agree with you. Like that middle tier is eroding, and not even from a technology perspective, but you've already seen this maturity level in the industry where these markets, especially like some of the markets that I'm in, are super heavy vacation rental markets, and the caliber of hosts have already increased since those early days of 2000s up until 2023, where hosts were really like trying to like super amenitize their places, redesigning a lot of places. So that's already happening, and now you're talking about like okay, hosts that really care about hospitality, know how to leverage technology, know how to market to the right guests. Those are the ones that are going to like they're going to be independent. They're going to be able to survive on their own without any OTAs.
Yep. Yeah, you're 100% right about that. Gil, you've mentioned this term a couple of times, LLM. Will you help the audience understand what that is? And then also how is it possible for someone who is going into ChatGPT or one of these AI tools and going, "Hey, I want to plan a trip to XYZ destination and here's what I want to do and I have this many days because this is what people are doing." How is it possible for my site to appear in an AI search result like that?
Yeah. So LLM stands for large language model. It's basically the kind of the technology behind AI. It's kind of the ability for it to understand human text as well too. There's also other parts of AI like machine learning and all the other stuff that we won't necessarily go into. But in AI, we talk of LLMs as like the underlying technology that people are most known to because we're all chatting in there. And I think one of the things that we have to understand is that ChatGPT it's able to get this knowledge from basically using search. And I don't know if many folks know this, but ChatGPT is owned or not owned, but it's heavily invested by Microsoft, which is also the owner of Bing, the search engine. And you have Google with Gemini. So you have these big search engines that are powering these large language models that people are chatting on. And so what you need to make sure first is the old days of SEO optimizations, those don't go away. If you really want to rank on ChatGPT and get surface there, you need to make sure that your content is relevant for folks and it can even show up in Google search. So like the very basic thing that you need to do is make sure that you're on Google Search Console. If you're a Crafted Stays user, don't worry about that. We automatically add you to Google Search Console. But basically, Google doesn't have every single domain and sends crawlers out there to understand your website. Like it doesn't do that. It basically relies on people registering their URL, their domain with Google Search Console and provide them with a sitemap. And when you provide them with a sitemap, then it knows, okay, these are the property pages, these are the blog pages, these are the location pages. And so it's able to go to those pages, scour through them. It will click on some of the links as well too. And it basically creates this big old map of what your website is all about, and it tries to understand what are the keywords that this website's all about, why is it there. And so it's trying to match that with the search queries, what people are searching for on Google. Um, and again, these ChatGPTs, Gemini, all of them are using the same search engines. They're using the same backbone. So they're actually searching for it. You can actually go into um, Google Search Console and filter out, and this is kind of a hack, but you can filter out 7 word queries, basically a longer query on Google, and see how many hits that has. And you'll find out that people are searching for specific terms there. That's kind of a hack, but it's more advanced. But anyways, you want to make sure that you're listed on Google Search Console and that you're creating relevant content. And then the kind of the thing on top of it is LLMs, they like things in very structured format. They like lists, they like very organized data. And so what we did in Q4 of last year, October, roughly around October, is we found out how basically the LLMs want to structure their data. And so on the back end, we basically provided the structured data. You don't see it as a user visiting the website, but there's structured data that we have on it. If you inspect the HTML, you can see it. But we have the property name, the location, the address, the reviews, the amenities, all that stuff. And they're all in a way that it's all in a way that they actually like. So if you ever go on Google or on ChatGPT and you say, I want to find the best coffee maker. And you see that now there's this little card that has a picture of the coffee maker and the price of it and all that stuff. It's because Fellow or Breville, they provided that information on their website in a very structured way so that when they're going in there, they're able to pull the price, pull it. They're not looking at the website as you as a human. They're looking at the HTML code. And if you provide it in a way that they can easily read, that's allowing you to be surfaced within those. So that's some of the mechanics that we worked on late last year. Sorry, super technical, super geeky stuff, but that's the stuff
It
I
is,
learned.
but you know what? No, it's so great, Gil, and it's so important because I think oftentimes, especially those of us that don't are not like in the back end of the website, etc., we don't know everything that goes into a website. So again, like you brought up the agency side of things, and then obviously like, the crafted stay side. It's like, yes, you could go build your property management software website. It's not going to do all of this. Like, if you want to appear in search results, if you want to make sure that you have what you need to have from a marketing perspective, it's not going to do that to
Yeah.
exactly what you're speaking to.
Yeah, and I think like because we build it as a platform and we're not like optimizing for this one customer, we're able to spend a lot more resources doing kind of like more industry-wide analysis. We're
Yeah,
able to work with some of our larger property managers and learn what they're trying to do. Because these large property managers, again, they have marketing teams. So they're
right.
thinking about retargeting funnels, they're thinking about cart abandonment. They're thinking about these really advanced tactics. And then when we try to when we execute it for them, we're able to then push that back down for smaller property managers to be able to have those tools. And so that's kind of
Yeah.
like kind of going back to like what's the ethos of crafted stays. Like we want to make sure that everybody has the tools to be successful in direct bookings. I don't feel like you need to be this huge property manager with dozens and dozens of doors to be successful, because there's a lot of good property managers out there that care about the guest experience. They've they've amenitized the place, they design the place, they know their customers or their guests really, really well, and they want to deliver a good experience. And I find that like before even direct bookings, those are the ones that are going to last the longest in the industry because they're constantly reinvesting into the property. But they're also the best folks to win in direct bookings because they're constantly investing back into it, and they're not thinking things as like very, very generic commoditized stuff that you might see on Airbnb. So like that's kind of where like that divide that we talked about earlier, that's kind of pushing that divide.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate because this is a question that I think somebody listening to this podcast could potentially ask, or things that I've even been asked that I'm like, how do I make this make sense to you? But let's say somebody is like, yeah, I hear what you guys are saying, and that's really great, like direct bookings, whatever, I get it. That feels like a heavier lift for me. I'm just gonna stick to Airbnb. Won't Airbnb show me in those ChatGPT search results? Won't Airbnb show me in Google search results? What would you say to the person who's saying something like that, Gil?
I think they will. I think Booking.com has already partnered up with ChatGPT and Anthropic on some of those things. And so you certainly will, but like also Google has Google Vacation Rental as well too. So their Gemini is going to be pushing for GVR quite a bit as well too. And I think like when you're when you're trying to be surfaced there, the more data that you're able to provide to these LLMs around why your stay is special, what's nearby, like those are things that's enrichment that you can provide to the LLMs because ultimately the LLMs, the AI models, they want to serve the best information as possible there. So the more information that you can tailor towards your specific guests, the better that they're able to surface it. If you know
100%.
like the best way to have a couples retreat in the Cumberland Rivers, like those are things that like you know better than Airbnb does.
hmm When you say you've used this term too, relevant content, what does that mean for those of us who are listening and going, what is relevant content? Do I have to write blogs all the time? Like, what do I need to be doing?
It all stems from like the basics of marketing, really just knowing who your guests are, who's staying at your property there. Because something that I might care about when I have two young kids is going to be very different than 10 years back in with pre-kids. It was my wife. We were looking for a couples retreat. Like the things that we need are very different then. So like what I want to see on the page will be different. So like I encourage folks, like even though we provide you with a structured template on our platform, I encourage everybody that onboards with Craft Days is to really think about like who is it that they're trying to attract to their website? What content will resonate with them? Because I don't want you to leave the boilerplate template that we have on there. It's meant to kind of be a starting point, but like you want that hero image to be like, oh, this place gets me, right? Like, and that goes with your social media and everything through. Like, you want that like that story brand type of experience where you understand and they know what problems you're trying to solve. The FAQ speaks to exactly what you're looking for, and so when you feel that, that's where you're like, okay, I feel really comfortable booking here. We're gonna have a great stay when we go here, and I'm thinking the same thing on as I'm planning for my Japan trip. Like I want to make sure that like if I'm booking direct, that like I find where this property is, what the new train stations are nearby, what attractions are nearby. If like that gives me a lot of confidence that if I book with this one, this person knows or this property manager knows how to deliver a great experience because it goes just beyond the stay.
hmm Yeah. I think something else that I hear often is, well, my guests just go back to Airbnb. And I'm like, right, because they trust the Airbnb brand, right? Like they know the Airbnb brand, they're familiar with it. What would you say to anyone who's thinking about building a Crafted Stays website in terms of how to build trust on that website so someone feels confident in making that booking decision with you directly?
Yeah, we kind of engine like psychology engineered this into our product. When you onboard, we have a checklist of things on our dashboard that you need to complete. And we do it very intentionally. We ask you for your host bio, your host image, your contact information, your social media profiles, your reviews. We do that because we've learned that some of the best converting property management direct booking websites has these elements in there. So regardless of which template you choose, we try to make sure that you actually have your host bio and with your image and everything. We have your social media links on the bottom because people are going to check your social media links. They're going to check and make sure that you're still a valid business, that you have followers. They'll check and see if you have reviews on there. They check for all these different things on your website. So we encourage folks as they're building the website on our platform, not necessarily like they need to learn everything one of those things, but like if I ask you what your social media profile is, you might not even remember to put it on your website to begin with. But this actually encourages you to do it. We have your contact information, your phone number that you can guess can contact you because I find that a lot of times people don't put their phone numbers on their direct booking website. Well, if a guest is booking with you, they're not going to have an app to reach out to you. They're not going to have the Airbnb VRBO app. They're going to want to find you. So we want to make sure that like when guests are staying and they have any problems, they're able to go onto the website that they booked on and find your number very easily. That's That's the most common way people will look for your phone number. They're not going to go back to the email that you might have sent them. So there's like these little small little things that we try to put into a website to really foster trust between the prospective guests and you.
Yeah, which is again so crucial to just like getting to that conversion point in the site. Gil, how do you feel like direct bookings are going to change in 2026 aside from, of course, the AI component? What do you think we'll see more of? Where do you think the industry is going to go?
We've already started to see this in 2025. We saw this explosive growth on, at least on our side with our customers. We grew like 4x in 2025, and a lot of it was due to kind of the feeling that Airbnb has left a lot of hosts with. They change Everybody knows this. Like they changed their fee structure, so it makes it look like we're taking on like they're not taking any money from you as a guest. That the host is eating it all kind of behind the scenes, and we have to inflate our prices on that. They added experiences that allows other people to kind of come into your property and provide services without necessarily your say. They changed the way that the review process is. They're using AI to do all the review kind of compliance, and where you can't even have a human kind of review a dispute of a review. They changed their chargeback policy where if a guest doesn't pay for their stay, you as a homeowner, you as a host will have to eat that. So they changed all these different policies that has pushed a lot of folks towards direct bookings. And at the same time, you have this new wave of hosts that are really trying to elevate the experience and really bringing hospitality in the forefront. So I think that combination of those two will start to increase the rise in direct bookings even more. We've already seen like 1 or 2 percentage bumps every single year since the start of the pandemic. Like we started at the beginning of the pandemic, depending on which like data source you look at, but like it's like 28, 29% direct booking rate out of all bookings. And they're starting to creep up to like 34, 35%. And I continue to see that go up and up as hosts have more tools. They're tired of being at the mercy of the OTAs. So we'll see that. And we're investing pretty heavily on like experiences and how to build a better experience on your website. So I think those will continue. And I think there's a lot of tools and a lot of services that just don't exist yet that will eventually exist. Not just
Yeah.
craft plays, but I think outside of it, I think SDR industry is we're still very much in our infancy days. A lot of
Mm.
tools, like, and look at like last 4 years, 4 or 5 years, a lot of the PMSs have matured so much. They've grown so much. All the AI tools that has automated messaging in there, and a lot of them are getting really, really good on that. It's ultimately providing a better guest experience on things. So I think that those things will continue to grow, and maybe some consolidation as well too. But
Yeah.
all in all, I'm seeing more hosts feel the pain of the OTAs, and they're very encouraged to invest into it. And it's not a short game. Like it's not like you're gonna build your direct booking website and put it up there and like next 6 months you're going to get 50% direct booking. It doesn't happen automatically. It takes some time, it takes some effort there. But we spoke about this before. The difference between like an Airbnb booking where it's very transactional, you're lowering your prices to get that next booking for that weekend. That's what it feels like on the OTAs. But on the direct booking side, everything compounds. As your email list gets bigger, as your messaging gets better, as your email campaigns get better, the retargeting gets better, like those things start to compound. And I think the hosts that are really invested in making sure that they continue to nurture that, the consistency is there, those are the ones with really, really strong double digit direct booking rates.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right about that, Gil. Gil, this has been such a good episode. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to leave the audience with today that you think is important for them to hear?
I think it's really just start early. No matter
Mm,
what you do, you can use the PMS website if you need to just get something by, but start collecting emails, start figuring out why do people choose you over other stays? What's your unique selling prop? What's different about you? And really get really comfortable with that over time and continue to refine that.
yeah.
Even if you just focus on email marketing for the first year, but you're really good at like understanding what people need, how to monetize your homes, and you really know how to market that well, that can go a really long way. And you can continue to build
Mhm.
upon that. When you launch your website and you have an email capture form, you know what they're looking for. You know what to target in those emails.
Yeah. I think the shift is from like a big shift is from hosts who have been in this and maybe they got into it for the hobby. We're like seeing less of that now and much more, oh yeah, this is a business. This is a business model and we have to remember that and keep that at the forefront. And any business that you would start, you would be building your own website, you'd be building your own brand, you would be doing those things for any other business. So we have to treat this the exact same way.
Yeah, and I think Airbnb has spoiled us in many, many ways.
Yeah,
What
100%.
other product can you just buy and resell without no marketing effort? I think we saw this a lot in the e-commerce industry with Amazon. And Amazon was this really easy model where you can wholesale things, and it got really, really competitive. And the same thing is happening in our industry, where Airbnb has made it really easy for people to get in and put their properties up there. And it's really the people that build their own brands are the ones that are really thriving.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're so right. Gil, you're fantastic. I really appreciate you being on here. For anyone who's interested in learning more about you and learning more about Crafted Stays, where can they come connect?
Yeah, you can find us at craftedstays.co. That's our website, .co. You can also find us on Instagram, and we also have a podcast called Book Solid where we talk about all things direct bookings. Steph, you're on there twice, so definitely listen to Steph's talk, especially the one that just aired at the beginning of the year.
Love it. Love it. Gil, thank you again so much for being here. And everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode.